Hey everyone, it's Chamis, and today we're going to be answering questions about birth control. Personally, I did not get the greatest education on birth control. It was literally in middle school and high school, like, don't have sex. If you do have sex, you might have an STD. If you do have sex, you could have a baby. Your options are to use a male condom, but preferably don't have sex. I'm like, okay, that was super unhelpful.
Thank you so much for this. It was entirely unhelpful, but thank you nevertheless.
So now I'm here to tell you all about birth control pills and everything that I know specifically about birth control in general, and specifically birth control pills, as that's the option that I decided to use for 8 years. So the first question we have is, what is birth control? So birth control is basically how you prevent pregnancy. And there are a lot of different birth control options out there. These options range from physical barriers like a male or female condom. There's also things like hormonal barriers that you can use, which I'll show you what that is later. That's the one that I use most often. There's also lifestyle things like the pull-out method, though I recommend pairing that with something else because I don't think that is the most reliable, you know, in case someone didn't pull out in time. And there's also very permanent things like you can tie your tubes or get a vasectomy, which is not permanent. So once you do that, then you definitely cannot get pregnant after that, or reverse. And I'll put a link below to Planned Parenthood because they have a really great section outlining all the different methods, and it can help you decide which one you want to do. So another question is birth control only for preventing birth? I will say there are lots of people who think that, oh, if someone's on birth control, that means they're definitely like sexually active, or they're just using it so they don't get pregnant. But there's actually other uses for it as well. I know a couple of my friends in high school went on birth control because they were trying to help with acne. So that's just a misconception that's out there, that just because you're on birth control doesn't mean that you're actively trying to prevent a baby at that time. Doesn't mean that you're sexually active at that moment. It might just mean you're just on it to prepare for the moment when you are going to, and to get your body used to it for the time that comes when you're ready to have. Or you might also just be using it for other things like clearing up acne and such. But that's something that you'd want to talk to your doctor about because it wouldn't be the same effects for everybody. The question is, how did you decide which birth control you wanted to go on? So for me, I actually looked at the Planned Parenthood website as well as talked to my doctor and tried to figure out which option would be the best for me, because there's a number of factors that you want to take into account. Some of these things are for people who are good at remembering things, like for example, the birth control pill. You have to remember to take it every single day. You don't want to remember to deal with that every day. There's things like the IUD, which is an intrauterine device, which you actually stick up your vagina and you just leave it up there for like 3 to 5 years, depending on which one you get, and then you don't have to worry about it for a while. But that does involve like sticking something up your vagina. So that's one factor. Another factor you want to think about is effectiveness, as they all range from super effective, you know, like 99% effective, or even 100% effective if you tie your tubes, versus lower effectiveness, like I'm gonna just hope my person pulls out right before they come, which is less effective than some other methods. So that's something else to take into account as well. You may also need to take into account money, because all of these cost a different amount depending on if you do or do not have health insurance and which health insurance you have. So those are just a couple of factors you want to think about. How much energy do you want to put on it? Do you want to put something inside? How effective is it? What am I mainly using it for? Is it for acne? Is it for preventing birth, etc.? So those are some of the things you want to think about, but I highly recommend going on to the Planned Parenthood website and going on Google and researching a couple of different options as well as what other people have said about them. I personally only tried like a couple. I've only like 3 of these options, and those are the birth control pills, which I started when I was 18. There is the condom. I have used those before, the male, as well as the pull-out method. I did use that when I first started. It was an interesting time, but now I felt a lot better after I mixed that with another method, which was the birth control. So the next question is, how did you personally decide which birth control to go on? So I decided on the birth control pills for a number of reasons. One, I picked the pills because I don't really like putting stuff up my vagina or in my body. There's an arm implant as well, but I don't want to put anything up there. Like even with my period, I like to use pads over tampons because I don't like putting something up there. It just like takes a lot of work for me. And it's like the pill seems really easy for me. So one of the reasons is just personal preference. I just like the idea of not having to put anything up there. The second thing was that I really enjoyed the predictability of knowing exactly when my period will come. So if you do use something like the IUD, which goes up your vagina just for a couple years, or the arm implant, which usually lasts like 2 to 4 years, and you just leave it there, your period can spot like generally like you have the period less often is what I've heard, and it might spot randomly throughout those years, but I'm not sure if there's a specified pattern. So that part really bothered me because I love to know exactly when my period's going to happen. So with the birth control pills, you have 3 weeks of taking the actual pill, and then they give you a week of like sugar pills, so they're fake, they won't do anything if you take them. And so during that week you are on your period. So I really like it because I can tell you like 2 years from now when I'm going to be on my period in this month, and it's helpful for like planning vacations and such. And it's also like pretty effective, like as long as you don't do human error and like forget a lot of times, like a couple weeks, then it should be good. So those are the reasons why I picked the pill. The question is, where can you get these birth control pills? So in order for me to get birth control, luckily I was on my parents' insurance at the time. When I was 18, I was in college, and so I actually just reached out to my doctor and said, hey, can I get some birth control pills? And so then we set up an appointment. We talked a little bit about the things I just discussed, like to make sure that was the right option for me, and then she put in a prescription. I got some, and luckily I didn't have to pay anything because my insurance covered it. But that was one way to get it. But if you don't have insurance, or maybe if you don't have insurance, then you can also go to your local Planned Parenthood and see if you can get a prescription there. They range in price from like $0 to $50 usually. So they say, the Planned Parenthood website says that they have a lot of options that they can help you with to try to figure out how they can get you a birth control pill that fits within your budget. Definitely go to them and talk to them, and if you do not have insurance or you don't feel comfortable going to your insurance and asking them about it. In a few states, you can even get a prescription for birth control online or directly from your pharmacy. So definitely check with your Planned Parenthood if you have questions navigating how that works. I'm 26 and I'm still like, I'm not really sure how that works because I just go through insurance. So if I didn't have insurance, I would definitely be checking in with Planned Parenthood, calling them and asking, how does my state work and how can I get birth control for the cheapest price possible? I highly recommend doing that if you have questions further on how to get birth control. The next question is, do you have to tell your parents? No, you did not have to tell your parents. Honestly, I don't think I told my parents. Like, I did hit up my doctor and like I didn't tell them, and like I don't know when I was 18 if the doctors had to tell my family, but I don't think they did, so they didn't know. I think eventually a couple years later after they found out like, oh, I have a boyfriend, like they asked me about it and I said, oh yeah, like I've been on it for a year now or something like that, like, oh, I got the birth control pill, so I'm good. But that's just because my parents and I talk a lot about sex. But totally normal if you don't want to talk about it or want to for some reason, you just don't feel comfortable. It's kind of a weird subject, so they don't need to know that you're on birth control. Question is, were you scared to start the pill? Honestly, I was pretty nervous. Like I wouldn't say I was super scared just because people had told me online like, okay, it's safe. But I remember, I don't think I'd asked too many of my friends since I don't think many of them were on it at the time either. I think I had like 1 or 2 friends that were on the birth control pill specifically, and one of them had tried like the IUD and the arm implant, and so they had all said like at first it was a little hard getting used to as your hormones were changing, but after a while, after your body settled and got used to it and just went back to normal, then it wasn't too bad. So I was like, okay, I just wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't know like what symptoms I would have. Obviously when you try something, there could be a range of reactions. Some people who say like nothing happened at all, like it didn't feel any different. People who were like, oh my god, this was not it, so many side effects, had horrible headaches, like had to get off it and switch. So I didn't know what to expect. I was just like, well, I guess I'll just try it and see, because I would like to have safe sex. That would be great. So I was like, you know, let's try it. Worst comes to worst, like I'm not gonna die, so let's see what happens. Another question is, how do birth control pills work? Basically, the pills release progestin as well as estrogen. These are hormones and they do a number of different things. They make the cervical mucus stronger, like the lining thicker, so it's harder for the sperm to get through. It prevents your body from ovulating. Ovulation is when your body releases the egg into your fallopian tube. So I just said a lot of words there, so if you really want to know more about the specifics of how the pill works, then go online. I'll leave a link below that explains how ovulation works and how the pills work and prevent you from having a baby. But basically it does a number of different things in your body to prevent you from having a baby and making it a lot less likely that you get pregnant. So then you might ask, when you first started, what were the side effects of the pill? I can only speak to my own specifics, but for me, after I started the pill, it was really interesting. Like the first thing I noticed, which was a positive, was a lot of my pimples were gone. Like I used to have like pretty normal, you know, pimples every couple days, like whiteheads and stuff. But then after I started taking the pill regularly, I noticed that I only got like, I still get like the small pimples and stuff, but I only got like the really big whiteheads, maybe 4 or 5 a year. So that I was happy about. But on the negative side, for the first couple months, first thing I noticed was that I was just hungry all the time. It was weird. Like I was like, oh, this is why these couple months you gain a lot of weight. And I had heard that happen to my friend too, like because I had just felt like, why am I always hungry? So I had to mentally like stop myself. Like, so I'm definitely eating a whole plate of food, which is the normal amount I eat, but my body is still telling me I want to eat more, and I don't know why. But like I definitely ate a lot more that period, and I was first like, wow, this is what it's like to like just want to keep eating, and like my body's telling me you're hungry, you don't have enough nutrients. But like I did this, I'm like, okay, there's no way I can eat like 5 whole plates of this. Like that's not what I normally did, and it's weird that it would just suddenly change. So that happened, and then I also had pretty bad headaches like for a while, but after I think 2 or 3 months, symptoms like subsided. I was like, oh, luckily like pimple thing didn't subside, which is great. Eventually like my body got used to the progesterone, estrogen, and was like, oh, okay, like this is fine. Like now I can eat back to what I was eating before and not feeling hungry all the time. You know, if I just ate, I'd be like, I'm still hungry. But then it evened out, so that was good. And then yeah, my headache stopped as well, so that was really nice. In terms of my period, I don't remember much. It was like 18. It was quite a while ago, but I think in terms of my period, it sort of like So my period also was a bit wonky for like the first month or two. Like usually I had my period once a month, but didn't know which week it would happen. But then when I started taking the pill, you know, it got a little funky. It was a little out of order, but then it became pretty regular after I took the pill for several months. The pill is like a month-to-month thing. It comes in a pack for a month, and so you will have to buy one like every month, or you can buy packs of 3, which is what mine comes in now. Yeah, so after 2 or 3 months, it evened out. But I will definitely stress that if it doesn't work for you or symptoms are just really terrible, like talk to your doctor or whoever you go to get your pills, who can prescribe you, and think about trying a different option or a different set of pills, because there's more than just the combination pill, which is a progesterone and estrogen. There's also other types of pills, or maybe it's just the progestin. So definitely talk to your doctor and see what you can do if your symptoms are really terrible. But I will say mine weren't horrible. They weren't great, but it was worth it so I could have safe sex. So the next question is, you know, what happens if you skip a day? Whoa, I can't tell you the number of times I skipped a day. I mean, not consecutively, but usually I remember the next day. So I've Googled this many times, and if you skip a day, you just take it as soon as you remember. So if I took my pill every night at 7 p.m. and then I forgot one night, then as soon as I remember the next day, like 10 a.m., I take it and then take my other one as scheduled. If you forget until that night, like 7 p.m. again, they say you can just take one, because, you know, taking 2 at the same time, I don't know if that would really do anything. But I talked to my doctor, and they said that if you skip a day, you can still have sex as long as you've been regularly like taking it for a couple months, because that's enough time for your body to get used to having the progesterone and estrogen in there. So if you skip a day, it wouldn't just suddenly change the makeup of all of your insides. So they said you can have sex even if you skip a day, but to be safe, if you want to be extra safe, you could just wait till you like had taken out a couple of more days, get back on schedule, and then you could have sex again to be extra safe, or just use a condom as well while you're having sex. So another question is, should you use a condom if you're on the birth control? Now this depends on a wide variety of factors. Like if you want to be super safe, like and protected against like most STDs as well as pregnancy, using 2 types of methods like birth control and the condom would be really great, because birth control does not help you protect against STDs like at all. It's just for preventing pregnancy. But condoms will prevent a lot of STDs, so it's great to use those. But I will say, like, at least for me, genuinely, it's like once someone becomes my boyfriend and then I know them pretty well and then I know they're not doing anyone else, I know they're safe, then I'm fine with just using the pills, because it's like over 90% effective, and it's very unlikely that you will get pregnant if you're taking the pills regularly. So if I'm not worried about STDs from my partner, then I'm like, okay, we could just do it without the condoms. But my friend who's a nurse says like it is very good to use both, because it never hurts to be super safe to ensure that you do not have a baby. So this question is, can you have sex on your period? Yes, you can. I was asking my doctor this too, because I'm like, wait, if I don't take it for a whole week during the week of the sugar pills, will I have my period and I still have sex, or will I have a baby? And basically she said, yes, you can have sex on your period as long as you're taking the pill regularly, like all the 3 weeks before and after that, because your body won't just suddenly be like, okay, it's time to like ovulate right now, like while you're on your period. So you could definitely have sex on your period as long as you're taking the pill before and after. The effectiveness is still the same. I do not know the science behind that, so I would definitely check out Google or your doctor. So I don't want to tell y'all fake science. I don't know the science behind it, but I have been doing it on my period and we have not been pregnant yet. Woohoo! And my doctor said it was cool and I trust her, so you can do that. Now the question is, do you need to tell your partner about that you're on birth control? Like, you certainly don't have to tell them anything, but I think it's something that's just really good to talk about if you're gonna have sex with someone, because you want to think about, you know, what ways are we going to be protected and safe. Like if I don't want to have a baby, let's figure out like what we're going to do. Like, are you going to use a condom? Am I on birth control? It just might affect which methods that you're going to imply or use. Or like, you know, maybe someone will say, yeah, my tubes are tied, and he'll be like, yeah, I got a vasectomy. And it's like, you both have tested negative for STD, so it's like, cool, I guess you don't have to worry about it. Or like, maybe you are on the pill, so I usually tell them like, I'm on the pill, FYI, so that's like what I'm doing for birth control. Like, what are you doing? Because I don't want to have a baby right now. So I feel like it's just a good discussion to generally have, like, hey, what methods are we gonna use? So I think it's really good to speak about with your partner before you have sex. Question I've had is, what does birth control pills look like? So this is the one I have right now. This is the box that comes in. I get a 3-month package basically, and then each birth control comes with a smaller box here, and then if you open it up, it has usually a little pack for you to put them in, and then basically it looks like this. So it says Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and these are the first 3 weeks of the month, and then on the last week you take this. Not saying you have to start on the first week of the month, just whenever you get it. Like, say I got mine like the second week of March, then I would start here, and then boom, and then once I take these sugar pills, and these sugar pills again don't have anything in them, they're nothing, you just take them just so that you get in the habit of like remembering to take it every day. But for me personally, I don't take them because I'm like I don't really need to remember because I just have my alarm on every time. So I don't take these personally. It doesn't really matter. It's up to you since there's nothing in them. They're just sugar. This is what they look like, and sometimes they come in cool little like circle. I've had it in a circle format before, and you can pop them out. So that's really nice. They usually switch up the brand every couple years. Sometimes they'll switch up the brand depending what like state I'm in and what pharmacy and which access they have to different birth control brands. So this is Astarilla. So that's this brand, but there's also other brands I've done as well. I've used like 3 or 4 over my life, and just make sure and check. They have the same percentage of progestin, estrogen, so you don't switch that up. If you're fulfilling your prescription, you should make sure that they're putting the same one. The question is, how do you remember to take it every day? So I have an alarm set on my phone that goes off every day at 7 p.m. It's usually around the time I eat dinner. Like, you don't have to take it with food, at least for me, it doesn't hurt me, but I'm gonna take it at 7 just 'cause I'm like, oh, it's like I'm eating dinner. I can have water and stuff next to me usually, and I can just take it. But I think I wish if I'd started from the beginning. I mean, I could still change my habit, but now it's so like ingrained in my mind to take it at 7 p.m. that I am lazy and don't want to change my habit. But I wish I had started with doing it in the morning, like just first thing you wake up, you do it. Because sometimes it's like if I don't eat dinner or like I'm not near like water at 7 p.m. I'll just forget if I turn off my phone. So tip, keep snoozing until you take your birth control. Or so many times I've stopped my alarm and then I just forget that I didn't take it and then skip a day. So that ain't it. So definitely snooze until you physically make sure you put that pill down your mouth, like in your body. But yeah, setting an alarm, really great. Some people might put it on their everyday to-do list, whatever you need to do, whatever structure works for you to make sure that you do not forget. But I do think waking up would be good, or right before you go to bed, because it's like you have to wake up every day or you have to go to sleep at some point in the day. So that's just something you can like remember. Okay, before I go to sleep or as soon as I wake up, I take my pill, rather than, oh, I have to have dinner, then I take my pill. But I'm like, well, what if I don't have dinner one day? You know, then my mind sometimes forgets, even if the alarm goes off, and I just stop it. So definitely set your alarm and like make it at a time that you know that it'll be convenient and you have it with you. So like I always carry it with me in my backpack, in my purse, like no matter what. You never know when you might not be home by like the time you want to take it. But again, I say it's nothing in the world if you don't take it like exactly at the same time. Like sometimes I take it at 9 p.m. if I like just took me a while to get to it, or sometimes I take it at 6 p.m. like right after work. If I'm like, oh, I'll just take it right now. So as long as you take it that day, like in around the same time frame, you're good. So another question is, was sex different? So I did start having sex before I had the birth control, so that was interesting. I used the pull-out method. Don't recommend, because I always got hella stressed afterward because I know it's not super effective. So after he pulled out, I was just like, oh God, please Lord, please let me not get pregnant. Like I know I didn't use birth control or condom or anything, so that was stupid. So regrets, always have regrets, which is not fun to feel after sex. I'm like, definitely wish I had started it before, but sometimes, you know, you don't know and you're in the moment and you don't know you're gonna need birth control, so good to use a condom in that case, if so, to be extra safe. But basically sex is the same, like I felt the same, but emotionally I felt better because I was like, I know I'm safe, and safe sex is good sex. So I was like, you know, it's highly unlikely I'm gonna get pregnant, so now I can have sex freely and not stress or worry that, you know, if he comes inside me or something, or if if a condom broke or something, that it would be the end of the world. Like, no, it's gonna be good. Like, I got my protection, we're good. So in that way, sex was better after I had it. Another question is, can you switch birth controls? You definitely can, and you may have to, because maybe you took it and your symptoms at first are horrible and you just can't get through it, so you gotta switch. Maybe let's say you try the IUD. I've heard it falls out sometimes, so maybe it falls out and you don't really want to deal with that anymore, so you switch to the pill and see how that works. Or you can switch to a patch, which you put on your arm, and it stays there for a couple weeks. So you could totally switch. Like, you could switch at any time. Talk to your doctor or person you talk to get your birth control, and then you could work on trying a different method to figure out which one works with your lifestyle. And like, who knows, maybe you're like, oh, maybe in some point in life you're like, you know, I'm kind of okay with getting pregnant. I don't really want to at this, like, I'm not sure if I want to at this moment, but maybe in the next year it'd be okay, or if it happened now I'd be all right. So you're like, all right, I'll switch it up. Or maybe you decide, no, I know I don't want kids, so I'm gonna get the permanent birth control. Like, I'm gonna get my tubes tied. So you can definitely switch your birth control at any time. And finally, when do you stop taking birth control? Well, on that note, you basically stop when you want to get pregnant. Pretty much, you stop preventing birth when you want to get pregnant. Or let's say you got your tubes tied, it's very permanent, so then you don't have to worry about birth controls. You got a permanent birth control. But if you want to have pregnant and have a baby, then you would go off the birth control. So that marks the end of this video. I hope these questions were helpful. There's such a wide range of birth control out there that I haven't tried yet, so I highly recommend looking at the Planned Parenthood website, link below. below to see like what other options are and which one works best for you, and test out a couple of different options to find the one that works best with your lifestyle and habits. That's everything that I know specifically about the birth control pills that I've been using and that I wish I knew about them. Hope this was helpful, and if you have any other questions or advice, let me know in the comments below. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more about all the things you need to know about sex. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good one. Bye.